So the assignment's all done now. I get back to doing like all like the fun touristy stuff. The thing that I missed doing the other day, I was in this area before, but I didn't come to the Grand Palace, which is right next to that giant reclining Buddha I was showing a couple of days ago. And the place is massive. So the idea would be that different kings have lived here over the generations, and each one tries to like outdo the other one with something cool that he's built here. So it takes quite a while to get through this. There's like a bazillion tourists and a bazillion different guides here, like milling about. Haven't quite found the ticket counter yet, so like I always feel that's important, so I don't get like jumped on by some like Thai security guard. But I'm gonna take a bunch of pictures and a bunch of videos of this. This is like a pretty showy place. This is kind of like the crown jewel of like the tourism in Bangkok, a lot of people say. And somewhere hiding around here, there is a Thailand's most revered icon, which is like it's a Buddha, but it's a Buddha that's made out of jade. So it's made out of jade, and it's hundreds and hundreds of years old. And this community over here came and stole it, and that community over here came and stole it, and then Thailand went and invaded and got it back. So. And we are in a cooler season, so they actually changed Buddha's clothes during different kinds of the years. So I'm expecting to wear sort of not rainy season gear, so that'll be pretty cool.
So bad news. It turns out that Green Buddha is busy today. So a bunch of signs around saying that they had actually closed it down at 10 o'clock, and I got here like 10 minutes after 10. There's like a religious ceremony taking place, so that's kind of a bummer. But there are a billion other things to see here. It's kind of a big compound. Looking at some like giant statues over here that I kind of want to take some like better pictures of. I could possibly come back like another day, but it's just kind of like, I'm going to be leaving pretty soon, so I might have to catch I might have to catch Emerald Buddha on the next trip.
Yeah, so even from where I was just standing, you could see, this is like the foyer. These guys over here I thought was pretty cool. I've seen different variations on this same theme, like these big door guardian dudes. For some reason there's always one that's green and always one that's white. I never really quite caught the story why. Over here, they seem to be advertising tours for free, whereas these guys over here, they're on like a paid tour, so I actually don't really know what the difference between the two is. But apparently one is starting at 10:30, so I might just kind of chill out here and try and like tag along on that one, and then wander around by myself afterwards for better pictures.
Oh, and I found my friend Mr. Frog. Tadpoles down there. Backside Mr. Frog.
So one other thing I'll mention before this tour actually starts is that we're under like Buddhist temple rules here in the sense of like the dress code. So I knew what was up, so I made sure I was wearing like a sensible shirt and like long pants and covered shoes. But tourists being tourists, a lot of people show up and they kind of mix one of these things up, right? So who doesn't like to see your toes? Who doesn't like to see your legs? Who doesn't like to see your shoulders? So one thing is like when other people come here, some people are actually like renting sarongs like at the door because they'll show up wearing shorts because it's Thailand and it's really hot. You can probably see I'm sweating right now. It's like this is the morning and it's probably 25 or 30 degrees out already. But I thought that was kind of cool. Right, so when you first come through the gate, they give you the option of going for a bunch of like paid tours. But I was told that there was a free tour, so I thought like, all right, I'm gonna skip out on the free tour, the paid tour. Then you go through the gates, and I was waiting for the free tour, and then I was waiting, and I was like, I'm feeling like this is I'm getting kind of bored, so I'm just gonna start walking around myself. So not only am I cheap, but I also am impatient. Everything has gold on it here. I don't think it's real gold, but like everything has little tiles that you can maybe see behind me. They're shimmering. There's a building right next to it with a lot of other colors. The Thai kings love the bling. The Thai kings are rappers, in a sense. There are many, many things to see. Like right behind me over here, I'm going to show you a video of a miniature city that they built. I didn't really catch the whole deal. This would have been the reason to take the guide, I guess. It's just fun to see. So upon further investigation, I caught the name of the miniature temple that was on the video before that, and it's actually a replica of Angkor Wat, which is in Cambodia, which I thought was kind of interesting. But that's kind of the equivalent of like, go ahead. It's kind of the equivalent of like a Tikal in Guatemala or like the Machu Picchu in Chile. Like it's very big, very old. Probably like pimped out to tourists, like to levels of ridiculousness, I'm sure. It was interesting to see. I never caught the reasons why it's here. Because, that would have been prudent for me to take the tour. But it's cool that it is here. I think that Mr. Elmo Buddha is hiding in there, and it really bums me out that I can't go and see him because I have kind of an aversion to signs that tell me where I can't go somewhere because it immediately becomes the place that I immediately want to go. And there's like a ton of signs around here saying like, okay, don't go here, don't go here. It's driving me crazy. The cool thing about this trip, there's a good and there's a bad. The maybe not so great part of it is that I came, after 10 o'clock, so there's like a billion different tour groups that have shown up. The good part about that is I can kind of attach myself to one of these tours now and then and hear some of the details of these things, so I've caught like little bits of like tidbits here and there. But you have to be selective about this because there's tours going in every language. And so I speak like a little bit of Spanish, and I don't remember like most of what I learned in school. But the Spanish tour sounds way more interesting than the English tour or the Chinese tour. Like that guy is like really adamant, and you kind of hear like the whole like soccer stadium announcer like guy. He kind of sounds like that. So Buddhism is much more interesting if you're Spanish, I think. All right, so Grand Palace is not a grand palace within a well-groomed and gardenous kind of area. These trees look kind of cool, I gotta say. I have no idea how much trouble it takes to make the trees appear to be like bulbs like that. I'm going for like a zoom in if possible. So I've now passed by like a bunch of, a billion other places they say I'm not allowed to go, which again is driving me crazy. But generally speaking, pretty nice. Okay, so they weren't allowing you to take pictures in there, but I just wandered through a little hall that was like a museum of weapons. And I thought that was actually kind of interesting because that's something I know like a little bit about. There's not a lot of variation like worldwide of the kinds of weapons you're going to have. You're going to have some kind of a shield, you're going to have some kind of a sword, you're going to have some kind of a knife, some kind of staff weapon, so a combination of like a spear or a trident or a halberd being like a long staff with like a kind of an axe on the end of it, or a variation on that would be a long staff with kind of a sword on. The idea is you would use that to fight off somebody on a horse. So you walk inside of this place, they show things like the police swords. They actually look like an epee being like a fencing sword. So it's a one-handed sword. It actually has a guard around the handle, and it looks very, very European, surprisingly European. But in the case right next to it, they show a bunch of like Japanese swords, which is a two-handed sword. And literally that just has to do with the fact that at different times and places there's just been like a bunch of different Japanese people employed here. So they showed some of those. And then they showed some of the native versions of that where, the Japanese sword has like a nice color. The katana has a standard art to it, whereas the Thai sword had a little bit more of like I can't think of the equivalent. Your handled sword that has sort of like a curved back, a little bit like a scimitar. It was interesting to see. And so a lot of like the hand knives, some of them are daggers, sort of like just kind of point and click. But some of them actually have quite a strong arch to them, so it'd be something you would use for like a chopping motion. So it's imagine like a machete with like a little bit of an angle to it, so you can use it to lop stuff off. And some of them have like more importance than others. And they had a few other things in there, like they had the container that they store the king's hat in. And not just the hat, but also like the crown. So there's a difference between like the crown and the hat, because I guess you don't want to wear your crown all the day, because as we know, the Thais love bling and gold, so that thing's probably pretty heavy. So if you walk around all over the place, you can see like these guys in the white uniforms, and this is like a dude who is in the army who probably is like loath to get stuck with this position because he's doing the whole like British Guard thing. So he sits here, and hundreds of tourists a day will come and sit next to him. If you look closely, you may not be able to see it from the shot. I don't really want to get any closer. He's got a rifle that actually has a bayonet on it, which is actually another interesting thing, because that's a very... I kind of associate it with being like an American rifle thing. So clearly this thing is a replica. Or I think it's a replica. There's no magazine in the clip. Pardon me, there's no magazine in the gun. And, I don't know, sharp-looking guy. So, not a good sign, people, because I was actually in this neighborhood just a couple of days ago, and there was not this much water. So, all these stories I'm hearing about the floods going away, they might be bullshit.
Strangely enough, I'm going to have to mark the National Palace. It's kind of not maybe my favorite thing to see so far. It was kind of expensive to get there, and it was really packed full of tourists, and you didn't really get to see a lot, as much of the stuff as maybe as I wanted to. Beautiful though, like, so I feel like the Buddhist buildings, or pardon me, maybe not the Buddhist buildings, like the traditional Thai architecture, it is a good place to go. So where I find myself now is I've wandered back to the downtown area, and I'm trying to, well, I'm going to go get a tour of Jim Thompson's house. Who's Jim Thompson? Jim Thompson was an architect from New York, whom was a spy, sort of pre-CIA era, and ended up in Bangkok in World War II. I guess revolutionized the silk industry and built this massive house that's now like a museum. Like, he collected like a lot of like East Asian art, and then one day sort of disappeared mysteriously like into the wild. So perhaps Jim Thompson is still traveling the world as we speak. Maybe not. It's kind of a long time ago. But anyway, so I had several different people telling me there was a Buddhist holiday today, and that I probably should go somewhere else that they want me to spend their money. But I'm here now, and so I'm looking at it right now, and it looks like it's open, so I'm going to go check it out. So Jim Thompson is kind of the man. Like, he took 6 different houses and weaved them all together. And it was he was an architect, right? So he did a lot of take this wall and turn it around to make a better show of this artifact inside, and, you know, take this artifact and turn it upside down and turn it into a lamp, and a lot of that kind of stuff. Down in the basement, there's a silk screen, and I took a couple of photos of it, and that was the man's business. That's how he made his fortune. And his company still runs today. In fact, after he disappeared, and nobody knows where he is or what happened to him, his company set up a trust fund to turn his house into a museum. It's quite the sight. So, Mother, if you're watching this, when you come to Bangkok, this is probably the place that you're going to want to go, because it's kind of nice. Yeah, I just wanted to show this thing before I take off. This would be the silk screen I mentioned in that last video. As you can tell, it's an antique. So this is how the man made a name for himself. He turned the silk industry around and made a fortune. So I did see a bunch of signs when I was leaving the building saying that there actually wasn't supposed to be any like pictures or those kinds of things taken, and apparently I decided to treat that as kind of don't be very obvious you're taking pictures. So I did take a few pictures and videos, and they are delicious. So I thought this would be kind of cool to show. So I'm across the street from a big mall called MBK, and next to it is the Siam Discovery Center, and then the Siam something else center. So it's a couple of malls, basically all straight in a row in the central area. But right through it, they have running the SkyTrain. Now, interestingly enough, they have 2 different levels for the SkyTrain. At this point, they market, or at this point of the street, one going one way and one going the other. But there's beneath that, they actually have this long, sort of concrete pedway. It doesn't go the entire length of the street, but it goes for significant lengths of it. So it's a way to actually get completely above all like the madhouse of all this traffic. And, you know, the sidewalk here at certain times of the day could just be like, you know, standing room only kind of thing, like very, very packed. This is actually probably my favorite part of the city. I've been here like a bunch of times now. I'm thinking about giving a look at the Madame Tussauds Wax Museum. It's not this mall, but the one right next to it, and see how many, well, there'd be a bunch of celebrities I know, and there'd be a bunch of ones that I don't. There seems to be a couple of regularly reoccurring Asian actresses and sports stars that I have no idea who they are, so maybe that's how I'm going to go and learn. So now I found myself in one of the larger, older hotels, and at the moment I am 74 floors up. I haven't made my way over to the top. There's a rooftop bar on the 84th or 88th, I can't really recall. So I'm showing this to kind of give an example of like whatever direction you look in the city, this is what it looks like. It's just this massive, massive sprawl, and you can kind of see there's a combination of a lot of smaller buildings, but there's quite a few larger ones as well.